Hello, what's going on YouTube? This is J Money here, and this video today I'm making is by the influence of a commentator on one of my past videos. It was actually from about a month ago, involving my my updated World Chalice deck profile. And the guy was talking about how I need to I have so many techs and all that stuff, and it's good in locals, but if you want to play competitively, you need to play, a bunch of hand traps and all that stuff to, stop your opponent, even though, World Chalice is a deck more suited for going first, but it's whatevs. But anyway, as he was saying this, and as a lot of people was saying, because I am still part of the Stargirl Duelist Facebook page, is that a lot of people, for some reason, are looking towards hand traps as a solution if they're not going first. And, although it may be good and all, the fact that people believe that it is the absolute best choice, is going about it all kinds of wrong in certain instances. And let me explain why. First off, for starters, as of today, as in this is the day that the structure deck, Cyber structure deck, is coming out, which means Tri-Gate Wizard will now be in the TCG. It will be legal for play. And my discussion for today is, which one is better? Is it better to play hand traps, or is it better to play Kaijus? I mean, some decks can fit both. If you can fit them both, then more power to you. But sometimes you don't have the option to play both, so you have to choose one or the other. So my personal opinion, I'm moving towards Kaijus in a sense. Why is that? Well, for one, as I've explained, I think 2 videos ago, pretty good, this guy had a pretty interesting deck, and he had a Tri-Gate Wizard co-linked with 3 other Firewall Dragons, and all it really took was one Kaiju. All I did was drop the Raiden over his Tri-Gate Wizard, and that not only turned off his Tri-Gate, but it turned off all of his other firewalls, which is a plus. See, the thing about hand traps is you have to do one of 2 things. You either need to stop your opponent's quote-unquote plays from happening, or you need to, find a way to break your opponent's board. And although hand traps are good for just preemptively deterring some things, the problem is your opponent's hand is still unknown, so you have no idea just how many cards, or just what they actually have in their hand. And so the risk of hand traps is you can potentially drop it on the wrong card. Now, let's say, for instance, I activate Terraforming, and let's say I know for a fact my opponent's playing Spirals, and I decide to drop Ash Blossom because I don't want a field spell, or their resort being searched, because that stops me from targeting their stuff. Granted, that's still the bad choice, because obviously you're gonna Ash double Helix, but that's a bad example. Let's say Diagram. Let's say you're playing True Dragos, or a deck that plays Diagram, and you activate Terraforming, and for a fact your opponent's deck is playing Diagram, but the problem is when you Ash Blossom, first off, a lot of these are hard ones for turns. Let's just get that out there. And secondly, there could be a chance that your opponent already has a copy of Diagram in their hand already, and so the Ash Blossom was essentially just ineffective. Granted, they're not going to get an extra search, but that's the risk. The risk is you don't know what all is in your opponent's hand, and so you could be hitting the wrong things. And not only that, but the major problem I've noticed is one hand trap doesn't do anything anymore. That's why you see so many people splashing so many numbers, because you need to open multiple hand traps to actually do something in your opponent. And even then, your opponent can still end on a sleeper with the Last Resort, and you have fewer cards in hand to deal with that sleeper, and you're essentially out of luck. Versus if you just had a Kaiju, you wouldn't even have to worry about it, because it's like, with me, I'm just asking myself, it's like, do I want to play hand traps and hope that I can deal with the problem, or do I want to play Kaijus and guarantee that I can deal with the problem? Because remember, Vanity's Emptiness is banned now, so there's no just locking your opponent out of special summoning unless they drop Christia, which means they're playing World Chalice. or dropping Vanity's Fiend, which means they're probably playing BA and it's probably game 2 or 3, depending on who won. But other than that, Kaijus, you know, they give you the assurance that you are for sure dealing with a problem because their turn is already over. You already know everything that is on the board. You know everything that you have to deal with. Versus hand traps, there's still a bunch of unknowns in the hand that can potentially, keep their place going. And, you know, back to what I was saying earlier, you need multiple hand traps to actually do something because, okay, you can splash all of these hand traps in, but if you only draw one, I mean, if it's droll, then I guess it's kind of good. But even then, so they still have likely all of their best stuff already. But, you know, if you have one hand trap, they're still going to play, you're going to drop it, but, you know, it slows them down just slightly, but they still make a difficult board for you to deal with versus, you know, letting them go off with their shit and all that, and then you just kaiju over the best thing they have. Or if you're playing pendulums, you know, Lava Golem over the Tri-Gate Wizard that's co-linked, that's probably has a Firewall also co-linked with it, so you turn off 2 with 1 stone, and then you turn off a Sleeper at the same time because that gets sacked off. And, you know, you get so much value off of one card, and you neg your opponent quite a bit. You deny them a lot of advantages with Kaijus versus hand traps because decks can play around one hand trap, sometimes even 2. And that's what I want to get at is it's just like it seems like Kaijus, especially now with Tri-Gate Wizard coming to the field, is, you know, it seems to be a better option because these hand traps aren't going to stop a co-linked Tri-Gate. You know, they'll stop certain plays, but, you know, if plays continue, this Tri-Gate is still happening. The Tri-Gate's still going to happen. And, yeah. And even if the Tri-Gate co-link doesn't happen, there's a co-linked Firewall somewhere to where these hand traps are, what are they going to do against already established monsters? See, that's the thing about hand traps. If you're going to play 10 to 12 something hand traps, you better go second. That's all I gotta say is like you better go second to make sure they're somewhat useful. And if you only draw one, then you're screwed, and then sometimes you will end up drawing a hand trap for turn and you can't use it. You can't use it because, you know, you can't use hand traps on your turn really all that effectively. But you can draw into a Kaiju for turn and it'd be fine because now you can just Kaiju over their stuff. Kaiju over their stuff, answer all their shit. Not only that, but going back to what I said earlier, you need multiple hand traps to do something to your opponent. And in reality, when it comes to Kaijus, you only need one, especially when you've got a lot of effects now that involve co-links, so you just kaiju in the middle and literally problem solved. Like you literally turned off everything. You just deny your opponent off of so much value that Kaijus it's just so much better than playing hand traps, because hand traps is just that gray area. Is like, will this be enough to stop him? When in reality, I can just wait for my opponent to do all their shit and dump their whole hand to the board. And so I know what I'm dealing with, and I know what I need to Kaiju over, because there ain't no more surprises. I know what I need to deal with. And so Kaijus are just more effective that way. Not only that, but the more link decks that come out, the more likely the chances these new upcoming link decks, like World Chalice, can just abuse Waterfront. Waterfront just adds counters for no reason. So it also gives you an option to go first and second. You know, because you're either Kaijuing over your opponent's stuff on their turn, or you have Waterfront just stacking counters because you're just spamming links, and you're adding Gamma Seal, and you're dropping it off of a Firewall effect, just stunning your opponent turn 2. So now Kaijus, in a sense, okay, for link-based decks, yes, Kaijus are multi-purpose. You can go first or second with them. Hand traps, you can only go second with them. And yeah. And so this is just, you know, and also just Raiden in general, you can just spawn tokens, just create more monsters for more links. Or, you know, playing Thunder Kings to just remove 3 and just literally turn off your entire opponent's field for the whole turn. Like, it really doesn't get any better than that. I know people really want to play hand traps. If you want to play any hand trap, play Max C, because that is still a card for going second. Max C is still like one of the best cards in the game, but you know, other than that, all these other hand traps, even when it came to full power spirals, it wasn't too much of an issue because the sleeper was the problem. And then your second problem was the double helix because they had utility wire set. But you know, I'd rather deal with a spin one back to the top of the deck over blowing up two that can't be destroyed or any of that other stuff. But again, Kaijus would remedy that. And a lot of times we draw into sleeper anyway. If you draw into sleeper and you get these hand traps dropped, well, it's like, okay, I still have sleeper. Big deal. And so you're still negging. You're still gonna get negged. Because sleeper is just gonna just double trident you and you lose. And so this is I want to hear you guys' opinion. What is your opinion on hand traps versus Kaijus? Which one would you rather play? Me, I am all for Kaijus, especially since Akashik is now with us as well. Like playing World Chalice and all that good stuff, or any other deck. Like World Chalice might start being played again because Trigate, but just the fact that I can just drop a Kaiju and drop Venus with 2 Shine Balls and then play Akashik and then just bounce the Kaiju and then re-Kaiju over something else. Just the fact that you can Akashik any Kaiju in general is just like really stupid. But granted, Gofu is now at 1, but you know, Grinder Golem is a thing, you know, it's whatevs. But regardless, this is just my personal opinion on hand traps versus Kaijus. Not only that, but Kaijus, you could potentially just draw the wrong hand trap. Not only that, but you might not always go against these super meta decks. You might not always go against Spiral. You might not always go against decks that do like heavy amounts of searching. You might go up against a Helmet Tellarknight deck that just decides to just summon the Neb in set 4, and you know, the hand traps do jack shit when you can just Kaiju over the Deneb and turn off, you know, like their alphas or whatever. So Kaijus just do a much better job in shutting things down and turning things off and just denying your opponent with live effects, as we're seeing, because a lot of these newer cards are now depending more on other monsters being on the board. And oh my gosh, who's calling me? No, get out of here. And yeah, a lot of these other cards are just depending on co-links now, which means Kaijus are just the better option. Not only that, but you have another board wipe, which is just, I don't know. So I guess people really need to ask themselves, you know, before they just decide to splash 10, 12, 15 hand traps in their deck that's not invoked, obviously. It's just like, you know, which one is the better option for your deck in general? I mean, because hand traps might be needed and invoked, but you know, in other decks, I'm going with Kaijus, man. So let me know what you guys think. Is there anything I missed when it comes to this debate between these two things? It's like, especially if you're just looking to go second, I would play the Kaijus anyway, because at least they can put some damage on board. At least if you're playing Waterfront. But once again, this is only just viable. This is only just an important question if you're just trying to go second, or if you're just going to play an absurd amounts of hand traps, then obviously you're looking to go second, because if you go first and open multiples, then yeah, that ain't good. So thank you guys for watching. This is something that's been on my mind for a while, so I want to hear you guys' opinion on this one. And until then, this is J Money, and I'm signing out.